Yesterday I had the opportunity to sit in on Dave Cornelius' session, and he was masterful where he presented his ideas to the audience, and the range of knowledge that he has is just phenomenal. But he was able to break it down into logical sequences so that everyone could, comprehend the information and then apply it to their situation. So now we're going to kind of go back to the drawing board and see how can we incorporate that within our strategy for our particular business. So very practical, very inspiring, and very clear delivery to show, what's possible with these new methods.
So now we have to deliver, right, which is the hard part. We read all the statistics of how terrible IT is at delivering value to the organization. Right? We have all the statistics. Most IT process management improvement projects fail 70% of the time. Couldn't do that in manufacturing. Couldn't do that if you were producing drugs, right? just think about the relevance. If you start comparing industries, you could not get away with that. But here we go back to what ITIL says. This is the industry best practices. So this is what you're going to deliver to the organization. And underneath this diagram, you would have documents that represent the processes that you will deliver. You will have training, right? You'll have systems that'll help to support how do you really go through and build some definition in terms of how do I bring 1,000 licenses of Microsoft into our organization and distribute it and really retire it. At some point you have to retire it, but one of the other things that happens is that if someone leaves our organization, we never ever reclaim that license. That's where it's another big dinger for you, right? We want to establish how we're going to measure our success. So we start by looking at what are the critical success factors for doing software asset management. So I'm just giving you a simple model that what will protect the organization from risky behaviors in terms of financial risk? What would increase our capability? And really, how do we really manage the cost across the board? So we set up critical success factors that we want to manage financial risk in the organization. And we want to set up a performance level. If it's not important, give it a low. If it's in the middle, give it a medium, right? But to me, I said, here are 3 things that we want to look at to make sure that we are successful and we can measure against. So what's associated with a critical success factor is, and I'm sure we've heard of this, is KPIs, right? Key performance indicators. We don't have to roll out ITSM with 100 KPIs, right? It makes no sense. Look at what's relevant to the organization. I still like SMART. Most people say that SMART is passé. I still like the premise of SMART, of things being specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and timely. I still like that. Some people look at me, that's so 80s. And I'm still saying, like, it so works, right? So I borrowed a few things from Gartner, and I said, and their view for some KPIs is, for software asset management, let's have 3 big buckets. Let's talk about key cost indicator and how we're managing spending, and risk indicator, how we're managing our exposure. Because I'll tell you this much, one of the things that happens is that if you depend on a certain software and you're constantly over, the next time you go to negotiate, you will be negotiating at a higher rate, right? And you continue that process, all of a sudden you're paying street prices for your software. So how do I manage that exposure? And what is the quality of the data that I'm collecting and measuring so that I could really look at how much software do I have in inventory? How much did I buy? How much did I use? How much did I reclaim? How much did I retire? And as we live in a global world, it becomes even more and more complicated. And I was at a customer that I was putting in SAM, and here we had offices in India, and China, and here, and everywhere, and it's just trying to manage like, whoa, how do we really bring this process together and manage the data quality? So centralization was part of the answer. Now, you have some really cool tools that you could leverage to implement this. HP Asset Manager is one of them, right? Everyone knows ServiceNow. Altiris metering, so when you install software, when you reclaim it, when you retire it, right? This is one tool that you can use to do that. If you're on the service side, you can leverage something like Blade Logic. And to make sure that you have all your assets in a single place, then you need a CMDB of some sort. And HP is just one of them. I'm just listing things. And from an ERP perspective, you have PeopleSoft. So from a summary perspective, it's like, really, when you go to implement IT service management in an organization, this is a change management initiative. Would we agree? Right, because basically most IT people think that is a technology initiative, and it's not, because basically the business is impacted by it. Make sure the organization is engaged in all levels. Get that executive sponsorship. It's really, really important at some point. You may start organically, but eventually you need to leapfrog up so that he could be someone who could help you across the board. Because as you walk into different business channels in the organization, you will find resistance. Why do I have to do this? I have enough work. Go away. Blah. Right? Well, if you have a good executive sponsor, he'll be able to really walk around some of that resistance and build relationships for you. Keep the process simple. I just looked at 4 simple things, right? Easy to remember. I could evaluate, I could strategize, I could orchestrate, I could deliver, and do continual improvement. Keep it simple. Because basically, eventually, you want to make sure that that language is transferable into the business as well. You want to make sure that, so what's going on with your evaluate process? And how's strategize going? That is something that people could really get in touch with. And know your core competency, right? If SAM is not your expertise, if ITSM is not your expertise, go hire a consultant. Bring them in to just do that part of the work. Use your project managers, use your internal people to help you do that. But go get the people that you need so you can solve the problem. Because if you try to do it by yourself in-house, the chances are you're going to fail. And failure is not a bad thing because you learn from failure, right? But you want to be successful, and that's the goal. And make sure that you market and educate everyone in the organization about your process. And to conclude, if you have any questions, please ask your neighbor because I'm done. Thank you.